is debt beating you down. You need discipline. You need the Debt Ninja. If you've been caught in a financial trap and need to be set free, then you need the Debt Ninja. Want to stop those harassing collection calls, start saving thousands in interest and fees, and get out of debt fast? Then you need to call the Debt Ninja. The Debt Ninja will find the best companies across the country that will help you consolidate all your bills into one easy payment, reduce your payments by 30 to 50%, and get you out of debt fast. If you have unsecured debt of $10,000 or more, such as credit cards, loans, or medical bills, call the Debt Ninja for a free 15-minute consultation.
Call 800-826-1246. 800-826-1246. That's 800-826-1246. Call today.
The Debt Ninja.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
Prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to the line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your website, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
My name is Jessie. I'm a United States Special Forces widow. This gives me a unique perspective on the world around us. If you're willing to listen, I'll tell you how I see it, and I won't pull any punches. This is my POV, which stands for Point of View.
All right, this is Jessie. I am so happy to be back with you guys. No, really, I am. For those of you who are unaware, I was off the air last night because the past 24 hours has been Yom Kippur. For those of you who are unaware of what Yom Kippur is, I will give you the very thumbnail definition. There's a lot more to it than this. It is the Jewish Day of Atonement. We spend a day fasting and in prayer and atoning for all the sins we've committed in the past year. It is a very serious thing. It is a Jewish non-working holiday. It is one of probably 3 days a year I will usually be off the air with you if my show falls on that day. So the other two have already passed, so we're good for this year. I do celebrate all the Jewish holidays, however, I am very touchy about skipping my shows. So all I've got to say is I will be here with you most of the time. Like I said, there are times I won't, but I'm going to try and make them as few and far between as possible. Alright, station news. Let's see. Rick has found a new syndication partner, and there'll be more information about that coming soon. We're going to, in fact, be adding a station news page to our website, KLRNRadio.com. Also in the works, each and every single show that is one of our shows, not the syndicated shows, our shows, the ones listed on the Our Shows page, are available on iTunes as podcasts. Everything except unsigned music artists is available on Google Play. They're also on Blueberry. They're also on Pocket Casts. We're everywhere. If you cannot find one of our shows, you're not looking hard enough, and I'm going to work with Station Manager Ann to get each and every show page updated with links so as to where each and every show can be found, other than our Spreaker account, well, probably including our Spreaker account, but other than our website. But we love it when you visit our website. Please go check it out. If you haven't been there lately, there's always something changing. Don't forget, the next presidential debate is a week away. Give or take a few days. I don't remember the exact date, but it is the 19th. And of course, we will be live streaming the debate and have one of our wonderfully raucous roundtables afterwards. Yep, I'll be herding the cats again, folks. I will definitely be herding the cats. So, what can I say? Although I actually enjoyed taking a break from my regular beat, so to speak, and doing something a little different. What can I say? It's interesting. It's fun. And I would have normally played my cat sound effect, however, I haven't been able to find it since I switched computers. Yeah, I just got a whole new laptop. Not that you guys really need to know that, but I did. So, all I can say is, I do have fun herding the cats. What can I say? I think it's interesting. I enjoy doing it, so why not? Plus, it doesn't hurt that I've got the strongest internet connection of the bunch. And usually I'm not the one wanting to shoot my mouth off the whole time, so I can rein in those who are. I do like to poke my nose in and say a point or two, but otherwise, I do tend to stay out of it for the large part. I still haven't found my host kitty sound effect, so I will have to either find it or make a new one. I know I've still got the raw audio. Alright. While I've been off the air, a lot has happened in the news. Boy, oh boy, has a lot been happening. Alright, let me just give you some of the quick rundowns. Alright, just looking for the right email. Because trust me, there's been a bunch of stuff. Let's start off with, this one will kind of launch us into a whole bunch of things. I'm just looking for the right article. Alright, this is a good one. And this one's kind of a cross between my show and U.S. politics, just for fun. Turkey slams Clinton for hinting support to Syrian Kurds. Turkish Prime Minister Binali Yildirim on Tuesday criticized U.S. presidential candidate Hillary Clinton for comments suggesting that she would consider providing arms to Kurdish fighters in Syria. Alright, guys, forewarning, you're gonna need your Russia-Syria conflict scorecards. Oh boy, are you ever tonight. Those scorecards are more important than ever tonight. In addition, excuse me, Mr. Frog is still, of course, trying to make an appearance, but that's what happens when you don't eat or drink for 24 hours and then try and literally within less than an hour's time from getting back, jump on the radio. So, bear with me. Mr. Frog is joining me tonight instead of host Kitty. I will try and evict Mr. Frog before tomorrow, I promise. Alright, so Hillary Clinton hinted that she might directly arm the Syrian Kurds. Now, for those of you who do not recall, Syria is not too happy with the Kurds. We like them because, well, they kick ISIS out of places and they don't bother taking names. They just get the job done. And then there's Iran. Alright, so Syria, recap for those of you who are not up on the Syrian conflict. Got those scorecards? Alright. Let's start with Syria, Bashar al-Assad. We say Assad must go. Russia says Assad must stay. Russia has moved in forces, anti-aircraft missiles, all kinds of defense and training, and Russia is propping up Assad. Let's just get that over and done with. Now, next thing to know about this. Iran is on the side of Russia. China is on the side of Russia. So you've got Russia, China, and Iran all in cahoots on this one. Where does Turkey fit in? Well, Turkey is, I'm going to say, Russia's frenemy, because they want normal relations with Russia, because they've got some economic projects in the works with them. But Turkey and Russia, their relationships have been relationship of late's been rocky. And, of course, Russia's not too thrilled that Turkey lets us use an airbase to launch strikes against ISIS. Oh, yeah. Not happy about that whatsoever. Now, as we continue down this vein, Britain demands Syria no-fly zone as Russian tensions escalate. In an emergency parliamentary debate Tuesday, Britain's Foreign Minister Boris Johnson said Russia was becoming a pariah nation. And if President Putin's strategy is to restore the greatness and the glory of Russia, then I believe he risks seeing his ambition turn to ashes in the face of international contempt for what is happening in Syria. Lawmakers repeatedly called for Britain to help enforce a no-fly zone to protect civilians. Conservative Member of Parliament Thomas Tugendhat said some military hardware is already in place. The helicopters are dropping barrel bombs could easily be brought down by rockets based in Turkey, Lebanon, or indeed from our own Type 45S warships in the Mediterranean. A no-fly zone was pushed by U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry last month following an attack on a UN aid convoy. More hawkish voices are calling for Britain to back the idea. Alan Mendoza, director of policy group, the Henry Jackson Society, is urging aggressive support. All right, so Britain wants a no-fly zone. Secretary of State John Kerry has pushed for a no-fly zone. Do we have one? No. Unless you count... There is no no-fly zone over Syria unless you count the fact that Russia says they'll shoot down anything that flies through Syria without their authorization because they have moved in the proper technology to do so. Now, Turkey doesn't want to be excluded from a possible operation to recapture the Iraqi city of Mosul. Turkey's president said Tuesday that telling Iraq's leader to know his place. Recep Tayyip Erdogan's remarks were likely to add tension between the two neighbors, which are key U.S. partners in the fight against ISIS. So, Turkey and Iraq are on our side. However, the kids don't play well together. They are a definition of oil and water. Turkish officials say hundreds of their soldiers are based at Bashika training. More than 3,000 Turkmen, Kurdish or Sunni Arab fighters from Mosul. Turkey says about 700 ISIS militants have been killed in retaliatory attacks against the extremists carried out from the base. Turkish warnings about possible sectarian clashes in Mosul, the majority Sunni region, were placed under Shiite control, also have drawn Baghdad's ire. Last week, both countries summoned each other's ambassadors while Iraq requested emergency session of the UN Security Council over the presence of unauthorized Turkish troops in northern Iraq. Alright, Turkey, in an effort to secure its borders, has technically invaded not one but two countries, both Syria and Iraq, because it feels that neither country is doing an effective job of guarding the border. Alright. As far as Russia goes, I've got a little audio clip I want to play for you. And then we will talk about it just a little bit more.
Should we make an announcement to the Russians that if they place the lives of our men and women on board Navy ships in danger, that we will take appropriate action?
Sir, I believe that should be known, yes.
There you have it. Plain speak. Senator John McCain asking the next commander of Allied forces in Europe about numerous provocative Russian moves, including this from a week ago. The incoming commander saying that all options, including military force, should be on the table in response to Russia. Chuck Nash, retired Navy captain, Fox News military analyst, and sir, good day to you, and thanks for coming back, Captain.
Good morning, Bill. Happy Friday.
Thank you, and to you as well. What does that suggest, all military options? It sounds severe. Is it more than a hyperbole?
No, it isn't hyperbole, and that is we should never have been taking things off the table. You never tell a potential adversary what you're not willing to do, because that allows him to write off certain things or go light on certain things and concentrate on other areas when we should be spreading them out. The other thing that General Scaparrotti said right after that piece that you ran as intro was he said, but once we make that known, we have to enforce it, which is a clear check against the glass for what is a dysfunctional National Security Council staff that has been trying to run everything from the White House instead of allowing military power to be exercised through our combatant commanders out in the field.
Well, Captain, cut through this.
Okay.
What's really happening here?
What's really happening is Vladimir Putin realizes that he's got a very weak president whose national security policy has been withdraw from the world, and he realizes he's got 8 months and change before there's a new president come in, and the new president's going to be tested anyway. So therefore, I think he's doing is he knows he's dealing with the guy who told his predecessor, President Medvedev, that tell Vladimir I'll have more flexibility after my election. Putin is still trading on that known. What he's facing is an unknown, which is who's going to be the next president and what message are they going to put out when they get their first test.
I mean, is he stretching his arms while he can? Is he
absolutely
putting more more oxygen in the balloon while he can?
Yes,
because
absolutely.
He's got an issue with NATO, right? And
big time.
NATO is nothing without the United States.
Correct. They couldn't even do Libya without us coming in to bail out that whole operation, which we never should have done. The results of that are pretty clear. But, if Putin could bring down NATO or so shake the confidence of the NATO allies that the U.S. is no longer really a reliable partner, then what happens is each of those countries is going to start to cut their own deal. It starts to weaken NATO and possibly continue the breakup of the EU. So strategically, that's what he's trying to do. If he can bring down NATO without firing a shot, he wins.
Just tell us how this is resolved. What should we do now?
Okay, what we should do, short of, and John Kerry saying we're going to shoot down Russian airplanes is bizarre. Okay, we're not going to shoot down Russian airplanes. What we need to do are do all these things pre-kinetic. In other words, get out there, flood the zone. If you don't like seeing our ship in the Baltic, get used to seeing multiple ships in the Baltic. Get used to seeing them off your Pacific coast, up around the north, up around the Capes, through the Iceland-UK gap. In other words, if you want to play this game, we'll flood the zone. You're going to see more U.S. flags flying off of ships than you've seen in the last 20 years.
Wow, so this is serious stuff here.
Absolutely, and you move some troops back into NATO, more than just a token force. Scaparrotta used to be the head of U.S. forces in Korea, so he understands nose-to-nose, toe-to-toe, and allowing him more flexibility and backing him up with a commander-in-chief and a National Security Council that is of one mind, and that one mind is not recede, but that one mind is to stand firm. That's how you prevent war. You don't show weakness. That invites conflict.
Be careful here, too. One bad move, and it can lead to something that
absolutely
the imagination runs wild. Thank you, sir. Captain Chuck Nash there in Washington.
All right, so I was a little late on the mute button, but as you heard in the audio provided by Fox, that Russia is a serious threat. Now, I've got a little bit more on that, so we're going to look at a couple of articles on this. Give me a minute to get them pulled up. By the way, I love my new laptop. I no longer have to print pages and pages and pages of information. I print the ones I really want, and the rest of it I leave on my screen. Alright, here's the big one. Alright, you ready for this one? And this one is big. The Russian military has test-fired 3 ballistic missiles in one day. Drills that come amid a U.S.-Russia rift over Syria. The Defense Ministry said that the nuclear submarine of the Russian Pacific Fleet launched an intercontinental ballistic missile from the Sea of Okhutra off Russia's far east coast, far east side, and sent a military firing range of the north coast at a military firing range in the far west on Wednesday. All right, they launched at least 3 of these. Now I've got to tell you something. Do I know for sure it's 3? That's what the news has been picking up. Do I think they're right? Probably not. Missile counts and the media are entirely other creatures. Alright, let's move on. Personally, I think I've titled this show as Russia Preparing for World War III. Yes, they are. And this is not going to be your traditional war. It is already a proxy war. It is going to continue on that level until someone says, no, this won't do. All right. Someone in the Russian department whose name I cannot pronounce described the government of Syria and President Bashar al-Assad as a pawn in the conflict and urged it to seek peace, claiming that there would be no easy way to overcome the alliance of forces that opposes it. A politician insisted that Assad has no plan in place. Any future political system in the country as the opposition not negotiate with a bloody dictatorship. Basically, the U.S. Russia's trying to get a proxy war started, and the rest of the countries are kind of going, nope, not going to happen here. All right, folks, history lesson. Neville Chamberlain, Wall. Accidents. There's a lot into this story. All right. Let's take a look at another one. China and Russia are considering a joint defense response to the U.S. missile shield. In other words, these two countries would work together. Lieutenant General Viktor Poltsniker of Russia's military general staff accused the Pentagon of developing the shield as part of planning for a possible nuclear attack. The missile defense system considerably shifts the balance of offensive weapons, allowing the planning of a more efficient preemptive strike, he said at a security conference in China. Alright, so Russia is wanting to develop its own missile defense shield. We have one. And Russia's wanting their own. They're willing to beg, borrow, and steal what is not theirs. I've got one. Alright, we're going to go to the commercial break just a few moments early. And I will see you guys on the other side.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
All riders are are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
If you want to work until you keel over, have less of everything in retirement, or give back more of your hard-earned money to the stock market again, then just ignore me. But if you'd like to protect the money you save, receive a steady, predictable retirement income, and enjoy financial security for as long as you live, then listen to this. You can download a free report that reveals the wealth-building secrets Wall Street and the banks don't want you to know. You'll learn how you can get guaranteed growth, safety, and real prosperity without risking your money in the Wall Street casino, and how to get the money you need when you need it, simply by asking for it. This is the best way to have a 100% secure retirement and know your money will last as long as you do. To learn more about this method and to get your free report, go to 29security.com. That's the number 29security.com. 29security.com. Go to 29security.com.
Down if you wanna, you can run away if you wanna, you can't pretend that this is totally okay if you wanna, you can play dead if you wanna, forget what they said if you wanna, turn your back on the country needing you right now, but I don't wanna.
Alright, thank you guys for hanging in there with me over that commercial break. All right. So we were talking about Russia. And Russia, yes, I believe they are gearing up for World War III. I am not kidding you. Between them launching, according to the media, 3 intercontinental ballistic test missiles in the past 24 hours. I have also heard rumors that I have not been able to confirm that they are recalling foreign exchange students and recalling families of diplomats. Basically, what the diplomats' families are going to do is they are going to go home to celebrate the holidays, and they will not return. Now, do I know anything concrete? No. I do have another audio clip relating to Russia. This is from a Senate hearing. It is future commander of European forces and John McCain. Let's take a listen.
With some immodesty, I keep up with what's going on in the world, but I was not aware of the significance and the depth of the challenge until our conversation yesterday. And do you think that we have a cohesive strategy to counter this challenge, or do we need to do a lot more?
Senator, I think we have a cohesive strategy of what that end state looks like for the United States that will allow us to continue, as we can today, to defeat any adversary that would want to threaten us in any domain as well as space. I do have some concerns of our ability to move fast enough to build those capabilities that we need to respond to the specific threats I shared with you yesterday, sir.
In other words, what they're developing in a relatively short period of time, months and a few years, is now taking us immeasurably longer time.
We are moving much slower in certain areas than our adversaries. We need our industry and our acquisition process to move faster, sir.
All right, so basically what the European Forces Commander was saying is that we take so long to get anything put in place that everybody else is outpacing us. That ain't cool, folks. No offense, I don't want China outpacing us in anything. Alright? Alright. Now, I've got another article here that I just could not resist. Syrian conflict has now become a proxy war between the two Cold War superpowers, and this is according to the Deputy Prime Minister of Turkey, and yes, I happen to agree with him. The Deputy Prime Minister of Turkey's name is Numan Kurtulmus, who warned that the conflict could escalate beyond the Middle East. Oh yeah, I agree with that one, flat out. Kurtulmus described the government of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad as a pawn in the conflict and urged it to seek peace, claiming that there would be no way to overcome the alliance of forces that opposes it. The politician insisted that Assad has no place in any future political system in Syria, as the opposition will not negotiate with a bloody dictatorship. Turkey has been one of the leading advocates of Assad's removal since the conflict, which has resulted in more than 400,000 deaths, broke out in 2011. But Russia is a staunch Syrian ally, which has intervened in the conflict at the request of Damascus. And Russia has refused to contemplate Assad's unilateral removal unless Syrian people decide so. Alright, first of all, Syria is not likely to have free and fair elections the way you and I think of them. So, I don't know how the Syrian people would be able to express their desire to have Bashar al-Assad removed. Trust me, Russia and Syria are not the only news stories. Russia's the biggest. I'm not going to joke on that one. You should have seen the look on my face when I found out that Russia had test-fired intercontinental ballistic missiles, aka ICBMs. Alright. Yeah, I was sneaking a peek at the news on my phone this morning. What can I say?
Expanded their deployment of air and sea launched cruise missiles that are not limited by the New START treaty, in which
that is additional conversation from the Senate hearing, which I was not intending to play. I apologize for that. Alright, so what else is going on aside from this mess? Putin ramps up World War III fears as he launches nuclear missiles in a terrifying show of power. Now, he used ballistic missiles that are capable of carrying warheads. To the best of my knowledge, the missiles were not actually carrying warheads, alright? Alright. What I feel makes the test very noteworthy, in addition to the fact that they did it, they launched at least one of the missiles from a submarine. Oh yeah, they launched at least one of the missiles from a submarine. And for those of you who keep your heads buried in the sand, by all means, feel free. However, guess what? Russian submarines are frequently found in close proximity to U.S. waters. Now, let's see. Remember those scorecards? Who else is back in Syria? If you said Iran or China, you are correct. Ding, ding, ding. Here is an audio clip about the USS Mason.
All right, so NBC News has learned that the USS Mason, sailing in international waters off the coast of Yemen, has been fired on yet again. Now, this is the second missile attack on the destroyer in the last 3 days. We want to go now to the Pentagon correspondent, Hans Nichols, who has the very latest for us on this. So, Hans, what's the Pentagon saying, and who is responsible?
Thomas, asserting and ascertaining responsibility will be a key question here going forward. We know that the missiles have been fired from Houthi-controlled areas in Yemen. That's significant because these are Iranian-backed rebels in the state of Yemen. That's the area they're coming from. You mentioned this is the second time in the last 72 hours, last 3 days. We don't have the precise timing on this. Now, NBC News has also learned, Thomas, that the USS Mason did fire defensive measures. Now, these are missiles in this case to try to intercept the incoming missile. It was more than one missile. 2-3 days ago, it was 2 missiles that were fired. Both of those, neither of the ones that we know about, have been successful in hitting their targets. So far, what we have here, what appears to be antagonism from an Iranian-backed force, few weeks out of a U.S. election, antagonizing a U.S. destroyer. Again, no actual response from the U.S. Navy in terms of firing back into those zones. A couple days ago, though, officials here at the Pentagon said that that can be expected and that you attack a U.S. Navy ship, Thomas, it's your own peril. Thomas?
Hans Nichols at the Pentagon Force. Hans, thank you, sir.
All right, so now Syria and Russia aren't happy with us because we did accidentally bomb some Syrian troops. Or at least the administration is claiming it's accidental. By the way, while we're discussing Syria, let's discuss our friends ISIS. ISIS is now rigging time-bomb drones to blunt the Mosul offensive. ISIS has been rigging small, off-the-shelf drones and model airplanes as time bombs in an effort to blunt the imminent offensive to retake its Iraqi stronghold in the northwest city of Mosul. This is according to a, quote, U.S. official on Wednesday. The official confirmed the incident last week, first reported by the New York Times, in which 2 Kurdish Peshmerga fighters were killed while trying to dismantle a model airplane that was shot down in northern Iraq. There was an explosive charge hidden inside what appeared to be a battery that was on a timer, said the official who spoke on the grounds of anonymity. Translation, he wasn't supposed to be talking, but decided he couldn't keep his mouth shut. Alright, the deaths of the 2 Kurdish fighters were believed to be the first for anti-ISIS forces as a result of use of drones. Yes, ISIS is trying to get into the drone contingent. The U.S. officials said U.S. coalition forces and the Iraqi security forces has been warned to treat the drones and model airplanes as UXO, or unexploded ordnance. Call in EOD, or explosive ordnance disposal personnel upon encountering the devices. In other words, we are helping to disarm these, and anyone who says that is not a form of combat has never tried to disarm a bomb, folks. In a phone briefing from Baghdad, Air Force Colonel John Dorian spoke for the Combined Joint Task Force Operation Inherent Resolve, said that Army Lieutenant General Stephen Townsend, Commander... I'm not even gonna...
I am Sebastian Atwell.
Good grief. Now what's playing on my board?
Risk taker.
Alright, we're just gonna kill that. I have no idea what just popped up, and I'm not about to try and find it, so I just killed it. Alright. Pentagon's Droid Improvised Threat Organization has deployed systems to either shoot down the drones or bring them down electronically, Dorian said. He declined to describe the systems or say where they were deployed. No U.S. or coalition troops have been killed or injured by drones, and this threat is not new to the area. So how long has ISIS been doing this? The article does not specify. ISIS has used a variety of small drones and model airplanes in an effort to gain intelligence and harass Iraqi forces as the offensive against Mosul approaches. There's nothing high-tech about them. Some are just quadcopters. In other words, battery-operated toys, folks. Battery-operated remote-control toys. Both Dorian and the U.S. official stressed that ISIS' use of drones would not be a game-changer in the push to drive the militants from Mosul. It's not going to have any strategic impact at all. It's not going to stop anything. That's what they think, and I'm waiting to see how it plays out. Now, I will say, if the U.S. actually bombs Syria proper, and I don't mean ISIS-held areas, I am talking about Syrian government-controlled areas, I could see a world war starting. Do I want to see a war? Absolutely not. Do I agree with Britain that we need to do a U.S.-controlled, a controlled no-fly zone over the area? You betcha. And I apologize for being a little bit under the weather tonight. However, Russia isn't the only one who's saber-rattling. First of all, let's get back to our good old friends North Korea. North Korea has been plagued by serious levels of hunger, and this is due in part to recent floods. More than 40% of North Korea's population is at a high risk for malnutrition, according to a think tank. The International Food Policy Research Institute in Washington, D.C. stated in its annual report on the Global Hunger Index that 4 out of 10 North Koreans are not getting enough food. This was reported by Radio Free Asia. In 2016, North Korea's food storage scored a 28.6 on the Global Hunger Index in a year when average Global Hunger Index score for developing countries was 21.3 on a scale of 50. A score of 50 represents the most alarming level of hunger in a country, with scores between 30 and 50 signifying crisis levels of hunger. So they are just below the crisis level. So North Korea's got its own internal problems, but is that going to stop them from working on nuclear ambitions? Absolutely not. And if you have listened to my show previously, you know that I have said that they have shown signs they are gearing up for yet another nuclear test and or a, quote, ICBM-style missile test under the guise of a satellite launch. All right. Now, North Korea has recently purged a vice minister because a diplomat fled. Alright, let's explain this. North Korea has purged a deputy foreign minister as punishment for the defection of a high-ranking diplomat. And this is according to South Korea's Yongang-Ilbo newspaper. Kim Jong-un recently banished Foreign Minister Kim Suk-ung and his family to a farming area after the mid-year defection to South Korea of Tai Young-ho, who was second in command at the North Korean embassy in London. Yes, do you recall that defection? I did mention it on the air. South Korea is checking the report, Unification Ministry spokesman Yang Jung-hee said at a briefing. Kung oversaw the embassies in Europe before being removed from his post. Today's defection prompted a probe within North Korea's foreign ministry and led to 4 other officials being expelled from Pyongyang. Now, just to remind people, Pyongyang is where the pampered pooches live. This is where the people that actually have access to food, medicine, health care, and North Korea's little intranet, which basically is their version of internet because they don't allow internet, they only have the little intranet. But they realize they can't be left behind, so they've created something so they can control what's on it and fill it with propaganda. North Korean leaders, including Kim's grandfather and grandfather, have used purges to tighten their grip on power. Some officials have been reinstated while others have disappeared permanently. Kim executed his uncle and one-time deputy Jang Song-taek in 2013 on charges of graft and factionalism, in other words, crimes against North Korea. Following North Korea's 5th nuclear test last month, South Korean President Park Geun-hye called for North Koreans to flee the isolated nation. The government in Seoul should make sure it's capable of accommodating North Koreans, she said this week in a cabinet meeting. So South Korea's going, hey guys, get out. Now, South Korea is also saying that they could and would launch a self-defensive nuke. A self-defensive strike against North Korea if North Korea showed imminent signs of using a nuclear weapon. Now, South Korea has also recently come out and said that they do have an assassination squad. However, I am concerned about how they would perform in North Korea, because I'm willing to bet they haven't operated there in years. Unlike North Korea, who routinely sneaks people into South Korea just to get intelligence value. So I'm not sure how well that plan would work, but it is always worth a try, I'm going to say. North Korea clears hurdle after hurdle in its race to obtain nuclear weapons. This is according to a foreign policy advisor to presidential candidate Donald Trump. Oh yeah, North Korea keeps knocking down those hurdles. Former Representative Pete Hoekstra, who once headed the House Intelligence Committee, told a forum in Washington on Tuesday that the dual-track strategy of sanctions and patience have not worked. You now have a North Korea with nuclear capabilities, he told a discussion organized by North Korea Economic Institute of America. None of us wanted that, none of us expected that to happen, but it has, and that's the new reality. He said that Washington should reassess what it can realistically expect from North Korea and how to achieve that. The view contrasted with other fellow forum participants, Kurt Campbell, an advisor to Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton. Campbell said he believes tighter sanctions could have the effect Washington seeks. I believe at the center of this is a different kind of conversation with China. He said, noting that Beijing handles nearly all of Pyongyang's foreign trade and finance. And just as a reminder, there are sanctions against North Korea on multiple levels. They are barred from many things, just as Iran was for decades. Beijing has repeatedly urged Washington to lower tensions, but has seen little change in U.S. actions. A new approach might be to get North Korea to cap and gradually eliminate its nuclearized weapons in return for economic assistance and the normalization of relations with the U.S. Alright, I do not support normalizations with North Korea as long as it remains under its current form of government. I think that is a bridge too far. Do I want North Korea back in the fold? Yes. Do I think we should either do a nuclear strike or something equally as sinister? No. Do I think we could wipe out Pyongyang in 10 minutes if we had to? You betcha. My, oh my, where has the time gone? Let's discuss our friends Iran. Remember I said Iran is supporting Syria and Bashar al-Assad and Russia. Challenging Iran is the last thing. This is an opinion piece. I didn't write it. Challenging Iran is the last thing Obama wants, even as Iran backed militants fire on U.S. Navy ships. For the second time in 2 days, the USS Mason had to defend itself from incoming missile attacks launched from the Houthi-controlled areas in Yemen. Yes, this did happen. Yes, folks, we've already heard the audio clip. However, can you really ever hear an audio clip too many times before it sinks in? I don't think so. Alright, Iran, our good buddy Iran. Iran appears to be stuck with China to finance its oil dreams. Amid the snake-infested Marshall Islands on Iran's border with Iraq, the control room monitoring North Ajidan oil field is manned entirely by Chinese technicians. In central Tehran, hundreds of Chinese pour out at noon from telecommunications there are so many Chinese expats in South Korea that some experts say that an actual count may be nearly impossible. Because, here's the thing, not all of them enter the same way, not all of them declare formal refugee status. So, does that mean some of them may be spies? Yeah, I'm willing to bet there's one or two there. Alright, on that note, folks, it's been a long day. I've given you the best of what I had pulled. And on that note, I'm out of here!